Okay, so today we are going to discuss with how to get the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster. So here we have a component which comes as part of the umbrella of Apache, like which is a sub project of Apache, that is Sqoop. Sqoop is a component. We use this component to get the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster. See, most of the clients which are working, right, most of the projects, so they have their regular processing system, which really done the three-tier architecture is there. Right, so every day the data from the different sources are either can be it's an application data, right? So we have they run the different applications, right? So whatever it may be, so what they're having now, the data is available in a production database. Now if the data is available in a production database, think that a client they are getting 500 gigabytes of data in a day, right? How much data they are getting production into the production database in a day? It's a 500 GB data, so they are going to process. Then so after that they have to write some queries and the data to analyze, or to write some Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server queries. But where the problem comes is in a day 500 GB, so in a month it goes to up to how much? It's a 15 terabytes of data is totally coming to their database in a month. So it's the client's database size. But analyzing the data, which is 15 terabytes of data, is almost impossible in Oracle or any kind of RDBMS, right? So now they are looking for some ETL kind of thing where a client can able to query the data in a simple and easy way as well. He has to run the query as well as he has to generate a report or a visualization within a less amount of time. Right. Previously, we have seen the days where we spent 8 hours, 12 hours to generate a report. Right, but you know that in a Hadoop, if you process the data using Hadoop, we can sort 1 terabyte of data less than 3 minutes. Right, so it's very much high processing is available in SDFS, so that when a client moves their production database data to the Hadoop cluster, so that they can easily analyze the data. So there are most of the clients which completely focused on Hive. Right, we have one requirement which I have seen in the previous day. Just we are looking the people who should know the how to get the data ingestion to the Hadoop cluster, then analyzing the data with the Hive. Only the thing we want, only the two people, a candidate who knows the data ingestion and data processing through Hive. So that much of priority and the importance is given to the Hive data processing. Now to process the data in a Hadoop cluster with the Hive, then you have to get the data, right? I told in the previous session, so you want to work with the data, so you make the data available in the cluster, right? You make the data available in SDFS. Once the data is available in SDFS, then we can able to process the data with a Hive or any other data processing tool you can use. So now here, so as per the requirement, so it's a database. So now we have the production database, which is a production cluster, which is a Hadoop multi-node cluster we are having like this. So now what we have to do, we need a component or a mechanism or a connector or a connection which establish a connection to the database to the Hadoop cluster, so that a client, a user can able to move the data from the RDBMS to Hadoop as well as Hadoop to RDBMS. So this is possible with a component called Sqoop. As its name suggests, Sqoop means SQL plus Hadoop. Okay, the first two letters of Sqoop, SQL, and the three last letters of Hadoop. It's a Sqoop. So the SQL, we are getting the data to the Hadoop cluster with the component Sqoop. Okay, so now what is a Sqoop? In a simple words, what how to say, generally everybody says that we are going to import the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster, but the best definition, which we use bulk loading the data, right? So now when we are talking about the Hadoop, right, as all the time and many number of times, it's a bulk loading. We don't work with a small kinds of data, right? It's a Sqoop is a component which is used to bulk load the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster. Or you can say, in other words, we used to perform importing as well as exporting the data between RDBMS and Hadoop, that is RDBMS and SDFS, so with a component called Sqoop. Okay, so see here, applying the Hadoop analytics and data processing requires, you should load the data into the cluster, after that process it. So suppose I don't want to use the Sqoop, but I have to get the data from the production database. So instead of the Sqoop, what we have the alternate, see, we can loading the bulk data into Hadoop from the production system. So we have to write a map reduce job. So when you're writing a map reduce job, instead of using the Sqoop, so one thing is, it becomes a complex job. So there is heavy coding is required. So it requires a huge consumption of the system resources, and it takes a lot of time to process it, and it is an inefficient method, which is not at all suggestible method to write a map reduce program to connect to the production database to the Hadoop cluster. So instead of using this one, so we have provided a Hadoop component Sqoop to load bulk data from the RDBMS, and it can be processed with Hadoop processing tools. Now, when we say about the Hadoop processing tools, either it can be a Hive, or it can be a Peak, or it can be a Spark, or it can be a Impala, right? Whatever it may be, it's a different or it can be a map reduce or the Java, right? So we can able to process it, right? So Sqoop is a tool which is connected to the RDBMS, and it imports the data to the SDFS. Then what is the advantage if you use the Sqoop to get the data, right? The Sqoop, the one advantage is bulk import. So we can at one go, we can run multiple mappers, we can run multiple processes simultaneously, we can run parallel processing, multiple processes to the database to retrieve the data. Like we know, we have seen a calculation, right? When we are in a fourth standard, we have a simple, if one person can able to do work in a 10 days, then 10 people can do the same work in a 1 day, right? So now what we are doing is Sqoop will generate 10 processes. We'll run 10 processes simultaneously onto the production database to retrieve the data. So now suppose it's something like we have 1 lakh records are there, 1 lakh rows are there in a database. Then I can run 10 mappers. Then each map will get up to 10,000 rows. Each mapper will process it. One mapper will process 10,000. Second process will map process next 10,000. Third mapper will process next 10,000. Means in a one amount of time parallelly we can run 10 mappers to retrieve 1 lakh rows. So in a less amount of time. So the thing is, it's a bulk import. And the second one is direct input. Direct input in the sense, now see here, we are having the data into the production database. Now this is Hadoop cluster. So what we have, what are available in Hadoop cluster? So Hadoop cluster in the sense, when we talk about, either it can be a SDFS file system, correct? So it's SDFS, or you want to process the data with a Hive. Okay, so that is a data processing in a Hive, or you want to store the data into the Hadoop cluster. So where we store the data into the Hadoop? So we have a NoSQL is available, which we call it as a HBase. So now here, either you can use HBase to store the data, or we use Hive to process the data, right? Otherwise we can store the data in SDFS, right? So what is the point here is, we with the component Sqoop, we directly load the data to the SDFS. It works. Or we can directly process the data, or we can store the data directly to the Hive table. So whatever the production database, a table data will be stored as it is into the Hive table. Or if you are having the NoSQL database in a Hadoop cluster, we can directly store the data into HBase. That is, we can directly process the data to SDFS you want, or Hive or HBase, so that the data from the production database will be stored into the NoSQL database. Generally, in a interview question, it's some tricky question they will ask. The question like, how to move the data from the unstructured data source to unstructured data. How we make the data structured to unstructured? Simple. When you are moving the data from the RDBMS to the HBase, means the data is converted into the structured to unstructured, because it's a RDBMS, which is a structured database, and HBase, which is an unstructured database. Right now we are moving the data from the structured data base to unstructured database, that is a SQL to no SQL, right? So this is HBase is a NoSQL database. So you can store in SDFS, or you can process it with a Hive, or you can store into the data as a database in a NoSQL database. Its HBase is a NoSQL. It is a SQL, but it is not an SQL, right? Most probably this week I'll take session on HBase. Okay, so this is one way. This is the third advantage, the direct input. Okay, and the third one is
Ajay,
just a second.
I'm having one small doubt.
Naveen, just give me a minute. Let me finish the
Okay.
third one, right? So then data interaction. Now the data interaction in the sense, okay. Now uh, see, you have the data available into the MySQL. Now you want to process the data in a cluster with a Hive. Now what we are doing, we are importing data from the MySQL database to the Hive table. Then where the question comes here, whenever you are creating a table in MySQL, then we have the data table, we have to specify the field name and the data types, right? Number, varchar, we specify in a MySQL. Then Hive data types are different, right? The data types in Hive is different. So now how these data types conversion takes place, right? Have whenever the import processing takes place between the Sqoop to SDFS, with the Sqoop from the RDBMS to SDFS, have the data is have the import is takes place. So it will generate a Java file, right? So we can able to see how this importing and export process is taking place, right? Whatever the internal Java program, we can able to see the data. So is one advantage. And the last one is we can able to export the data. Now, so what we did, you did some processing here, right? After processing, if you want to move the data back to the Hadoop cluster, yes, so both import as well as we can perform the exporting the data between RDBMS and SDFS. Then I have imported with a Sqoop to the Hive. Then so in Hive, so it will be stored as a part file, which contains where the data converted like this: 1 comma Ajay comma iPhone 5. So what is the table name here? Prad info. So here the table name becomes the directory name. So a directory is going to be created with the table name. Okay, so what is the table name now? The table name becomes directory name. So under the directory name prad info, so a file is going to be created with the name part m-0 which contains which contains the data 1 Ajay iPhone 5. Then so what we do now, in a Hive we create a table like this, create table, right? Some the table name prad info. So then we specify id comma, id is like an integer, then username is a string, then prod name is a string, right? So we'll create the table. After that, we specify here what is the delimiter, how the fields are separated. So we write something in Hive, row format delimited, and each field is terminated by comma. We'll write in Hive like this, okay, to process it with Hive. Okay, we'll see this in the next coming sessions. We have that one. So now what we are doing now, right? So this is we use a Sqoop, right? So now whatever the databases which we can connect with a Sqoop, right? When your Sqoop directly connects to the MySQL, Postgre, Teradata, or Oracle, DB2, CouchDB, SQL Server, HSQLDB. So we have the different databases are available. So now because we doesn't expect that always every client will use the same database, so there are so many databases are available, right? So now if some people will use MySQL, some people will use Oracle or SQL Server. So whatever the database it is, Sqoop will try to import the data from the production database to the Hadoop cluster. Then see here, so what is the database here available here, right? So consider it is a database and we have a Hadoop cluster, this one. Now to connect to the database from the SDFS, we need a connector. What we need? We need a connector. Okay, now see, if you are using RDBMS MySQL, right? So then we need a MySQL connector, right? To connect to the MySQL to the Hadoop cluster, right? Similarly, if you are using a SQL Server, then we need a SQL Server connector to connect to the SDFS. If your database is Teradata, then we have to get the Teradata connector to connect to the SDFS. We have to configure this connector. So now every RDBMS they are providing the connection connectors. So you have to download the connectors. So by default in the cloud era, we will get the MySQL connector. So now if you are trying to connect to any other databases, see here. Okay, so we have given the links to list of connectors, right? So you can download MySQL connector to connect the MySQL. Similarly, for the Oracle, Oracle connector is available. For the SQL Server connector is available. So you have to download the connector. Okay. Similarly, to connect the Teradata, we have the Teradata connector is available. Okay. So this connector uh, will establish a connection to RDBMS and SDFS. Okay, so what you have to do, I have given the steps to configure the connector. Just download the Sqoop connector and copy it to the Sqoop form under the lib directory. That's it. Apart from that, you no need to do anything, right? So download it and copy it to the Sqoop home lib directory, so the connector is available, right? Once the connector is available, then we can able to connect it to any database. Suppose there is some database, there is no connector is available, then we can manually, we have to write a Java program to for this connector. So we have the different existing connector codes are available. So we have to get the code and just you have to modify according to the database RDBMS which we are trying to connect it to. And remember, Sqoop works with the RDBMS. Sqoop doesn't work with the DBMS. It must be RDBMS. In the sense, now we are trying to connect to MS Access, it won't work, right? It should be an RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. Sqoop only works with the RDBMS. Okay, so now suppose how to connect to now. So to connect to, so we have to write a connection string. So how we write the connection string? So first we have to write connect. Okay, hyphen hyphen connect. So this is this connection string or the connector will use a JDBC method. So you have to write connect space JDBC colon, then write the database name, which database you are trying to connect to. Suppose you are trying to connect to the MySQL, then write here MySQL, or if you are trying to connect to the Oracle, then write the Oracle here. Suppose if you are trying to connect to the SQL server, then write SQL server here. So first write the connect, and it uses a JDBC connection method. So write the JDBC, then write the RDBMS name. Right, my RDBMS name is MySQL colon slash slash. Now where MySQL is available, in which machine you configure the MySQL. Suppose you configure the MySQL in a machine with a host name, this one. So then write the host name of the MySQL, that is in which name, in which host name the MySQL is running. Write the host name, right, colon. Otherwise if it is a in your system, you have to write localhost. Okay, right. So we are connecting to the through JDBC to the MySQL, where MySQL is available in a local host. Then which database you are trying to connect to, so then write the database name. Okay, so this is the connection string. So now so if you have a username, you don't have the privileges, then write the username, right. So to connect to the MySQL, username, and the password, you have to write the password. So we don't prefer to write the password like this, right. So then if you write hyphen p here, right, then this command will manually ask the password, right. It will ask user to enter the password to run the query. So then you have to enter the password, will be displayed as a stars. After that, this is going to be executed, right. If you have by default connection privileges are there, so you don't need to write the username, right. See here, I'll run with a simple example here. So I want to import the data from the production database. So I'm writing a command Sqoop, then import. Okay, so then write the connection string. So that is write connect, and this connection string uses which method? JDBC method. So connect space JDBC colon MySQL colon slash slash. Right, where this MySQL is available, it's available in a local host. And what is the database name you are trying to connect to? Test. Then which tables data you want to retrieve, then write the table name. So my table name is test. Okay, then when you want to import the data, how many number of mappers you want to run? So here you can write hyphen m space 1. We'll see, I'll teach you these mappers about later. I'm running one mapper, that means only one process goes to the MySQL, and it will try to retrieve the data from the database to the Hadoop cluster. Here one mapper, that in the sense one process will goes to the MySQL, and it will retrieve all the rows to the SDFS. So we have to write this command. Okay, so I'm going to the environment here. Okay, see here, I'll take the three terminals. Okay, so now here I'll start the MySQL. So I'm writing MySQL hyphen u root hyphen p, right. So the password is Cloudera. Okay, I'm in a MySQL, so use test, right. Show tables. Okay, we have some tables are available. See, I'll run select star from new test, right. We have some data available in the table. Okay, so now I'll try to import the data, or you can use some Sqoop, right? You can, I'll use Sqoop exp table. Okay, so now I'm trying to import the data from the MySQL to the SDFS, right? So I'm running the command sqoop, then space, right, import. After that, you have to write the connection string, connect. So I'll write in the next line, connect. So it uses JDBC colon MySQL colon slash slash localhost, and the database name is test. What is the table name here? Sqoop exp. Then write hyphen hyphen table Sqoop exp. Then how many mappers you want to run? Hyphen m1. I'll tell you about the mappers after some time. Then write hyphen m space 1, press enter. Okay, now starting, right? It's starting executing this job, right? We got an error. See, what is the error here? Privileged exception, right? Sqoop exp already exists. See, I told, whenever you're trying to import the data, so it will create a directory, whatever the table name is going to be created as a directory name. So here this error saying that already there is a directory with the name Sqoop exp, so that it is unable to create the directory. So here from the SDFS terminal, I am deleting Hadoop space fs-rm r Sqoop exp. Okay, right. So there is no Sqoop exp in SDFS, right? Now I'm running this command again, right? Now it's completed. See here, right? So the job, this is the job ID, okay, completed successfully. Right, now see here, transfer 30 bytes in 3.070 seconds, retrieved 4 records. Now where these records are available, so whenever you are trying to import data, Sqoop will create a directory SDFS. So what is the directory name? So what is the table name? With the table name, a directory is going to be created. So now write Hadoop space fs-ls Sqoop exp, press enter. Okay, see now, right, it created a part file. We have the two files, one is underscore success and another one is a part file. Okay, so a part file is going to be created. Now to see the content of this part file, now see, I'm going to run the cat command, right? Yeah, see the syntax. Okay, Hadoop space fs-cat, then what is the, you can write the complete path like this: user under, we have a directory that is a Cloudera, it's a default location, user Cloudera. Then a directory is going to be created with the name Sqoop exp. Under that, the what is the file name? Path hyphen m hyphen 00000. So this is the complete path, right? It's saying that no such file because it's a path.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, so we have retrieved the data from the RDBMS to SDFS available, right? See, if you type Sqoop from space help, press enter. See, only these commands are available, right? Apart from that, so there is no other things are available in a Sqoop. Only these commands we use in Sqoop. Okay, suppose now I want to connect it to the MySQL database, and I want to see how many databases are there in a MySQL, right? I don't want to run from the MySQL to see show databases, right? Here if you run show databases, it will list all the databases are available, right? Now here, now I want to see from the Sqoop is Hadoop terminal. From the Sqoop terminal, I want to see what are the databases are available into the MySQL. Then you have to write Sqoop space, right? So the command is list databases. See here, Sqoop help, right? So we have a command is available, Sqoop list databases, right? So we'll write Sqoop space list databases is a command. Then we have to write the connection string. Then how to write the connection string? A connection string always starts with the keyword connect. It's easy and simple. Try to remember as it is. A connection string starts with the keyword connect. Then this connection takes place with a JDBC connection method. So you have to write JDBC connect space JDBC colon. Now which database you are trying to connect it to? I am trying to connect it to the MySQL. So write JDBC colon MySQL. In which system MySQL is configured? So MySQL is configured in here. It's a local host. Then which database you want to see? Then if you have the database available, yes, here I am going to see what are the database are available, right? So stop till localhost, press enter. See now, for this user will have the privileges to connect it to these two databases, so that only two database names are listed here. Suppose I want to see in a database test what are the tables are available. See here from the MySQL, if you want to connect to the test database, we write use test. Right now we are in a test database. Then write show tables. Right. So these are the tables are available in a test database. Now from here I want to see. Okay. So Sqoop. Then the command is see here. What is the command? List tables. It lists the available tables in a database. So then write Sqoop space list tables. Then write the connection string. Connect JDBC colon MySQL colon slash slash localhost. And which database you want to check? Test database. Then write the test. Press enter. Okay, see now. So these are the databases are available. See, I have not connected to the MySQL and I have not opened the MySQL terminal. From this Sqoop terminal, I run this command to see what are the tables are available in the database test. So the command is Sqoop list tables. Okay.